Okay, let's dive into this one. I don't know how the hell this token got into the top 50 of coin market cap. I kind of get it, but I really don't. We're going to talk about Pi Network today. It's basically an app that lets you mine crypto from your phone. And when I say crypto, I mean specifically their token. Millions mined nothing, basically, and waited forever. And now you might get to hold the IOU bag. So let's dive into Pi Network. And we're going to start off, as we always do, with the narrative and vision for this one. Pi does sell you the dream, mining crypto on your phone without killing the battery. It sounds cool for villagers and probably for boomers. Massive user numbers. They have 50 million pioneers, as they like to call themselves. But what's the utility here? It's still closed, the mainnet, although I think they're launching an open mainnet at some point. There's no public trading. It's a hype to nowhere funnel so far. It doesn't have any utility outside of making crypto mining easy by mining on your phone without draining the battery. Wow. Absolutely stellar work here. I don't know what else to say about the narrative of vision because there really isn't one outside of just mining this thing on your phone. It says it's decentralized, but it's not really. We'll get into that. Mobile first, user and planet friendly. Okay. So that's pretty much that on the narrative of vision. There's nothing really crazy here. There's a lack of grounding, to be honest with you. There's no real product, as I mentioned, or utility. And the narrative feels kind of hollow without decentralization, which I'll get into in just a second. They did have a viral acquisition. It's mobile first, all good things, but the hype has come and gone for this one. And we'll take a look at the price in just a second. But I'm going to give it a score of 8 out of 20 for the narrative and vision. And we'll move on to the tokenomics and supply. And one of the first things that came up, I always look at the website, I always look at the white paper first when I build out these reviews. The first sentence in their Pi Supply section is Pi's network vision is to build the world's most inclusive peer-to-peer ecosystem and online experience. What does that even mean? That is just a bunch of marketing slop. There is no ecosystem. There's no experience. You just download this thing and mine Pi. That's it. And then they have this additive fueled by Pi, the world's most widely used cryptocurrency. Wow, that's definitely a stretch to say the least. So regardless, let's look at their actual tokenomics. There's 100 billion Pi. There's about 7.8 circulating, and it's caught a bid recently, right? This is the 7-day chart. And if you just came on and saw this, you'd be like, wow, that doesn't look bad. That looks halfway decent. It broke out of this sort of channel. It formed a base, and it's now up to 42 cents from, 35-ish, at a 20% rip. Nice, good. Now you zoom out and you can tell kind of what happened. So this launched back a while ago. The price ripped to 289 or 279, excuse me. The holders dumped. And since then, it's just been slowly bleeding into oblivion. And now it's got this little tiny pump. It's had these before. It had one in May where it ran up from 59 cents to about $1.25 and then straight back down. And I don't see this time as being any different from any of these other sort of mini pumps. I have no idea how this is 37th on CoinMarketCap, but whatever. They do, on the positive, they do have lockup incentives. So those were introduced. There's no clear issuance schedule, though, which is definitely a red flag. The token economics are just murky at best. As I mentioned, I went through all of this and it doesn't make too much sense to me as to how this would be anything else except inflationary and a huge risk of instant dumps. There is a positive, which is why I think the price sort of has come back to life a little bit, which I'll get into in a second in the next section. But to just cap out tokenomics and supply, they've been printing this thing like toilet paper, basically. The white paper is murky at best in terms of the actual numbers, and there's no transparency. The token unlocks are delayed, good, but the dump pressure is basically baked in for this. And for that reason, I gave it a score of 6 out of 20 for the tokenomics and supply. And we can move on to the tech and execution. I did want to mention that the tech, it works. Yes, you can mine Pi on your phone. It was built by, or sort of founded by Nicholas, who's the head of technology. He's a Stanford instructor and did the first course on decentralized applications. Cool. He probably realized, man, why am I making like whatever money I'm making teaching when I can just launch a coin and rug people? But I don't want to harp on them too bad. There is a GitHub. There's an open GitHub. But as I look through this, it just seemed weird. Like, I don't know what Latin chain is. It enables pioneers to play games using the authentication and payment functionalities of the Pi SDK. I mean, they're going into games at this point, but there's no concrete product roadmap or vision for this, right? Here's an e-commerce platform made by Vietnamese pioneers, and then the actual Pi code hasn't been updated in a while. You can see the activity is basically not there anymore, and it's just kind of all over the place. Kudos for having an open GitHub. That's definitely good. But, the community-driven promise line just doesn't hit for me. The dev progress is going at a snail's pace, and there's no major exchange listing yet, right? Currently, it's on OKX, most of the volume, and then BitGet and Gate have the rest of the volume. Now, here's the kind of sauce as to why this has probably caught a little bit of a pump. Is because there's listing rumors. There's rumors that it might get listed on an actual exchange. And, newsflash, usually when these things get listed, the price has already pre-pumped because insiders know, and certain people do know. They buy, the price gets pumped, they get listed, and all those poor suckers buying on the centralized exchange are left holding the bag. They are the exit liquidity. Anyway, for tech and execution, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 20, and we can move on to market structure and liquidity. Honestly, not much to say here. The price is in the gutter from the all-time highs. Obviously, that's not a revelation here. You can look at the chart yourself. A dead cat bounce is basically what's happening and just the rumors around the listing. So the volume is basically speculative IOU trading at this point. There's no real liquidity or depth to this, and the rumors are keeping the pump hope alive, but it's all smoke and mirrors until a real order book exists for this. So for that reason, I gave market structure and liquidity a 7 out of 20. And we can move on to exit risk and VC stakes. Again, the team remains centralized. They are heavily guiding the decisions around this. I don't know how involved Nicholas is in this anymore, but they got delayed on Binance for a listing because they were flagged for centralization. So if that's not a big enough red flag, I don't know what is. The early adopters mined the free pie, and now they wait for someone to cash out. Without decentralization or transparency for this thing, this is basically your typical exit liquidity rug setup. With them having such a massive user base, you could look up there on their X. They have 4 million followers. It's absolutely insane. All their X does is post about how many followers they have, and once in a while they'll post a video. There's nothing here. There's nothing substantive. There's nothing concrete here. So you have these 4 million people of mined free pie. The one thing they're waiting on is just get us listed on a centralized exchange so I can dump my bags on somebody else. I would never touch this. Just never. This has no utility. There's no good roadmap. There's no narrative here. For the exit risk and VC stakes, I gave it a 5 out of 20. We'll go to the final score, which is a 36 out of 100. This is a zombie protocol. It's not a rug yet, but it's nothing close to a moonshot. It's alive-ish, but again, it lacks real tech and real utility or real mechanics to back the hype. Unless they deliver rapid decentralization, real listings, and an actual roadmap, you are going to be the exit liquidity if you're buying this stuff, especially when it potentially gets listed on a centralized exchange. For me, there's nothing here. This is not interesting. Gone are the days of mining with, video cards or, buying a Bitmain miner and putting it up in your shed in your backyard or whatever. Mining on your phone sounds cool. It sounds innovative. It sounds like a little bit of money here dripping in every day on the free, but this is just vaporware, in my opinion. Yes, they have an actual app, but that doesn't say much about the utility. So for that reason, I'm out on this one. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. I don't think they'll be in the top 50 on CoinMarketCap for long. Again, 50 million strong, but there's zero market for this thing. I wouldn't touch it. The score reflects that clearly. And I wish them nothing but the best. It's an interesting idea. I just think it falls flat in the actual creative category. And for that reason, it is a zombie protocol, in my opinion. So be safe out there. As always, I hope you have a great weekend. If you made it this far with me, I really appreciate you watching the video. You know what to do. I'm not even going to ask. Thanks for sticking around. And as always, we'll see you next time.